Man, you guys are hilarious. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, NFL customers can get $150 in bonus bets with a winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
By the way, in addition to thanking these guys for coming in, I wanted to thank all the fans that came into my live podcast yesterday. And speaking of those fans, we need Creative Juice or somebody else. Please, can we get a mock-up of G and I as the guys from Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs? Wasn't that what it was, Crockett and Tubbs? I'd like to see that mock-up. I think that would be funny. All right, guys, big news coming out of Houston. Obviously, the Browns are playing the Texans on Sunday. There was a report from one of the Texans beat reporters saying CJ Stroud is still dealing with concussion symptoms, and he said he's almost definitely not going to play. So right now, I mean, unless we hear anything different today when they practice, it seems like it's a long shot for CJ Stroud to play. Big deal. Is there anybody here that thinks the Texans are better off with the veteran in Case Keenum? Can we make that case or no way?
No, we cannot. Coleridge doesn't he lead the NFL in passing yards?
I think he probably does per game.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't play last week.
Coleridge is special. I got to watch him for two seasons at Ohio State, and he did his thing. And, he throws a really good ball. And, that's the thing about him. He's a great leader. I thought that even if he did play, he'd be kind of at a disadvantage because Tank Dell is out. And I think Nico Collins missed last week with the hamstring.
So Tank Dell's out for the year.
Yeah.
Nico did miss last week. He might be back.
Yeah.
They have Noah Brown, the veteran who played
Bucks.
the game.
Who had a game-winning touchdown. Go Bucks.
Yeah, he's had a weird season. He's been a boom or bust guy. He either gets like 100 yards or zero. Noah Brown is probably the most physical wide receiver that I went against at Ohio State. Now, he flew under the radar until after I left. I think 2016 was his big year. But he was built like a tight end, but he played wide receiver. He was very physical. He was the guy that when you had so DBs used to do they had to do the stalk block drill. You know the stalk block drill? Stalk block drill, for people that don't know, is the wide receiver. It's a ball carry behind the wide receiver. So the wide receiver will run up 5 yards. He stop, and the DB has to come and get around him and make the tackle. So he's got to block you, right? If you seen Noah, you would back up and go somewhere. I'm not going with him. That's the respect that he had. Okay.
You would look and see where you at. You see who you got. I ain't going with him. Somebody else take care. Because that dude is crazy.
You got to send the freshman to go.
Dude was crazy.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, my condolences goes out to CJ Stroud.
Coleridge.
Get healthy. You know what I'm saying? Take your time getting back.
You sick.
You don't want to rush that, man. You got a bright future ahead of you, my man.
You don't want to get another concussion so quick.
It's Christmas, the holiday season. Take your time off, man. You and your family enjoy yourself. But back to this football, though. Back to this people on the field. Heck yeah. Listen, I don't want no parts of CJ Stroud. I hated this game when I seen the schedule after he started throwing for 300 yards and being all composed and saying all the right stuff and hitting and coming back from game-winning touchdowns. I don't want no parts of CJ Stroud. You stay right over there where you at. Give me some of that Case Keenum. Yeah. And I don't want none of your weapons to be there. Nico Collins, I don't have to say
rest that hammy, man.
Hey, listen, hamstrings. I told you, I've had 18 surgeries. I can wish that the soft tissue stuff. If you got hamstrings, groins, ankle injuries, get out of here. That don't count. You go ahead and sit that out too. So now let's go, man. We need to understand. We need to go into this game. We can't clinch anything. No, actually, there's about 10 things you can't clinch. Yeah. But it starts with us winning this game. Very pivotal.
By the way, CJ Stroud is fourth in the NFL in yards per game. But of guys that have played at least 10 games, he's actually second, and he's less than a yard per game behind Tua. As a rookie,
with nowhere near the weapons he got.
Ridiculous. Well, you know who's leading the league, and it's not official because he hasn't played enough games, but you know who's leading the league in passing yards per game?
Kirk Cousins?
He's second. Even though he hasn't played 10 games, he's second. Who's number one?
It ain't Joe, who hasn't played 10 games.
The guy leading the league in yards per game, any amount of games. But he hasn't played enough to qualify, but he actually leads the league.
Jake Browning?
This is a terrible job out of you guys.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco!
Oh,
He
man.
leads the league in passing yards per
He
game.
does, doesn't he? I saw that.
313 yards per game.
That's
Number
crazy.
1 in the NFL.
That's crazy, man.
Isn't that nuts?
Hey, listen, Flaccovelli. Listen, I told you, I'm all for the air raid. We run air raid now. I listen. I need double reverse flea flickers, all that good stuff. I'm cool. We air raid now.
I'll tell you what. The thing I like about the Case Keenum thing is Kevin Stefanski knows him, and some people on his defense know him because.
What you mean? We know all his stuff.
My point exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
therefore, you should be able to know what to take away and what he's not good at. I mean, this is the same guy that couldn't start over Baker Mayfield, hurt Baker Mayfield.
They put and this when we was watching Case Keenum. Hey, we sitting on all the bootlegs. We sitting. Hey, there should be a defensive end sitting there, Indian style, waiting for him like this.
How many yards did Case Keenum have last week?
220, I think.
225, one touchdown, one pick. You know what that is? That's
So wait a minute. What they was running the ball? Let me go look this.
I
up.
don't know how they won. Really. I don't know how they came back because they was down 14-0.
I think it was 14-3 or something.
Yeah,
or
or 13
something like that. Noah Brown had a good game. I think Noah Brown had 100 yards, if I remember correctly, or something like that. I know he had a good game. But, they don't have a ton of weapons.
Devin Singletary went for 121 yards.
He's actually played really well. They had Damian Pierce was their starting back early in the season. He'd been their starter last year. Singletary, kind of out of nowhere because he hadn't done that much in Buffalo, he's played very well for them. I don't know what his numbers are in the year, but since he's been their starter, he's been pretty good. So he's really their biggest threat, especially if Nico Collins doesn't play.
711
Yeah,
yards.
I mean, he's having a pretty good year, and since he's been the starter, he's been pretty good.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
He's got a shot for 1,000 yards this season.
The person outside of Devin Singletary, if Nico Collins doesn't play, even if he does play, our safety's gonna have a big game, particularly
Their tight end.
Yeah, Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not killing you.
This game plan is probably the most cut, dry, clear game plan we've seen in a long time. That is, they're going to have to run the ball in order for Case Keenum to be effective. That means on first down, I like what the Browns did against the Bears. They made sure that they sold out and said, look, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to just beat us on deep throws and contested throws.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be up here letting him get four a crack and then letting the pace slow down for the Browns.
Yeah.
Another thing is you got to get out. You want to get up on this team. If I can never express this more enough, they have to, when they're playing this team, 10-0, 14-0, quick start so that now you got your D-line on turf against Case Keenum,
right,
and you got your three corners back here.
Right.
That's what we need. That's lights out for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the Titans aren't a very good team, so they couldn't take advantage of that situation.
Yeah.
But the Browns obviously have a much better pass rush, and if they put the Texans in situation where they got to throw, that's a terrible situation. I think this is a huge deal. I mean, obviously, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a huge deal that CJ Stroud is not playing. With CJ Stroud, this game's a toss-up.
Yes.
You would even argue that the Texans should be favored as they are because they're at home. And with CJ Stroud, they've been really good. Without him, I think the Browns should be favored in this game. I think the difference between Stroud and Keenum is almost a touchdown.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's, I think it goes from a really tough Browns win to a game they absolutely should win.
They got to have
There's
this.
no excuse for losing. The next 2 weeks, they're facing Case Keenum and then, I don't know, Trevor Siemian. I don't know who's playing for the Jets.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, when Jake Browning is the best quarterback you're going to face the last 3 weeks, you should, and he's played really well, like Flacco has.
So what you're saying is, y'all owe Earl an apology for when he said they was going to go 5-0.
Yes. Well, if they go 5-0, we will owe an apology.
Look at Earl. Earl. I got to make sure you get your flowers, bro.
I mean, at the time, he said 80%.
They said it was ludicrous.
It was crazy to say 80%, but if it turns out to be right, then he was actually wrong. It should have been 100%.
Yeah. You see how Bull flipped that? You see how he flipped that?
I got to flip it on you. I got to flip it on you. But, yes, I mean, Earl's prediction, this has turned out a lot better than the 6-0 from last year. That went down the tubes. This is looking pretty good. But you still got 3 more games to win. None of these are in the bag.
The only thing that scares me about this game is I need to know how offensive line is going to play. Like I said, I don't know outside of Will Allen. I don't really know. I'm not familiar with the Texas D-line and pass rush.
Because Montez Sweat in particular killed the Browns last week.
Yeah, so it's like, and I think like every game from now on is going to be a good D-line. The Jets, even though they stink offensively, they got a great D-line.
Bengals got a good D-line, although they lost Reader.
They lost Reader, but they still got a good defensive
good
line.
ends.
Trey Hendrickson is having a great season.
Their linebackers playing well, too.
So that's why I'm like, the offensive line, like, that's why I'm like, they the way that they keep going and not addressing it, I get it. I got faith in Bill.
Callahan.
I do.
Sure.
Like, Bill's done his thing.
Yeah.
But, like, at some point, like, we still got to run the ball. Like, I'm down with the air raid until the air raid, like, to the shoulder sword.
But, Tyvis, to some degree, aren't they using all these screen passes as part of the, isn't that?
Yep.
Does that not count?
Yes.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable.
You asking a 39-year-old person to throw the ball 40-something times a game. You don't think that's going to hurt?
It makes no sense. On paper, it makes no sense. And it very easily could backfire if he gets hurt or something.
And on top of that, the turnover thing. Like, you put the ball in the air, it is 2 things that can happen. No, it's 3 potential outcomes.
2 out of 3 that are bad.
Yes. Like, 66% of it's bad.
I mean, you could fumble too, though. No, I mean.
So you want to make it 3 out of 3? You want to make it 75%?
I'm saying in the run game, you could fumble. You could get stopped for no yards.
Now, if Joe Patonio gets back and Ethan Poaches gets back, then I feel like, okay, well, now the run game is back on. As constituted, from what I saw from Nick Harris at center, from what I saw at guard and what I saw at the 2 tackles, they just can't run the ball. They can't. They're not physically. Like, when I say they can't, they don't, like, listen, they're not, I don't want to say this lightly, but come on, bro. These dudes Nick Harris is not blocking nobody, not no nose tackles. Like, he's too light in the britches.
He lost to somebody on like a short yardage.
Like,
they went right past.
They are.
What is Ethan's injury?
Stinger, I think a neck injury.
Ooh, that's serious.
Yeah, neck injury. So, like, if they can get those 2 back, but as now, they're getting dominated up front physically, like locking out, looking where the ball is, disregarding them, and making a play. Old school.
That's disrespect. They getting 2 gaps.
Yeah, right there. It's like, if you let somebody do you like that, and you feel like you strong enough to just disregard their manpower this way or that way, that's disrespectful up front, and that's how they was getting done.
Guys, before we'll get back to CJ Stroud and all this coming up a little bit later. We're going to have Leroy Horde on with us shortly. I wanted to bring up something real quick because the Browns did add a player to the practice squad, and